Hello, welcome to another video on this Yap channel where I talk about philosophical things and whatever I find interesting about myself and others and things going in the world. Uh, Before getting the video, make sure to like and subscribe. That means a lot. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So, today we'll be talking about morals and revenge and stuff like that. Because the reason I'm making this video is because about a week back, a week and a half back, I got into a bit of a debate with my girlfriend about is revenge justified? Is revenge a right thing to do? I was saying that it is wrong, and she was saying that it is right, and I got into thinking, and I decided now that I should make a video on it. And just like always, this video is not scripted. I am thinking on the spot, just trying to get my thoughts out. And yeah, let's get into it. So, before we get into talking about revenge, we need to establish uh my view on morality and stuff like that. So, my core beliefs in this. So, first of all, my so-called personal morals. I think that every single person should be treated equally, unless they have done actions which cause either significant or sometimes it can be smaller, but actions that cause harm, then they should still, as people, they should be treated equal, but they should be in some way punished for that law system. I think in Finland the law system is really good. In some other countries it's really bad. Jail is really bad because I think, for example, you should not be put in a stone cage, a metal cage type of jail. You should be put in a jail where you can live properly, and it's just you're there because it stops you from doing that harmful thing again, and you still get opportunities to learn, to study, learn stuff, rehabilitate, etc. Uh, and but and if a person does significant or sometimes even insignificant good, if the person overall does good things, then I think that person, well, yes, still should be treated equal. It should be acknowledged that that person does good. But overall, everybody, no matter what kind of person they are, what they've done, should be treated as it should be treated the same. And I don't stand for stuff like racism or bullying or any other like uh, unjust wrongdoing towards any person. Um, and one belief that I have that is quite an unpopular opinion, hot take, one would say, is that I don't believe that there are good or bad people. I believe that there are only good and bad actions. And what this means in what this means is that every single person isn't. You can classify people on if they're a good or a bad person. They're just a person who do actions. Everyone does both bad and good actions, and I might still use the phrases good or bad people, but that will be sort of referred to when I'm referring a person which does more obvious good than obvious bad. But when you really think about it, most people, they do both good and bad. They have good and bad sides, and almost always, I would even dare say always, both of those are pretty equal. Sometimes other side just becomes a bit more visible. It's more obvious that they do good or bad actions, and thus every person, no matter what are their actions, should still be treated as a person. You shouldn't go around judging people, saying that, oh, this is a bad person, this is a good person. You shouldn't classify them like that. No, they're all people, but this person has done good things, this person has done bad things. That's different. you aren't directly judging the person, but rather you are sort of judging their actions. And then again, how good or bad an action is depends a lot on perspective, and I think we need to define a good or bad action here. So, um, the way I defined it is a bad action is an action which causes direct or indirect harm in any way, whether it be physical, verbal, emotional, mental, uh, whatever else, harm to property, um, slowing down their progress on something, anything like that, um, to yourself or other people, and that outweighs the good causes, the good effects of that action. And a good action, on the other hand, is the same thing but like flipped. So, an action which causes more general good, more things that help someone or yourself in some way, or complement, uplift something, or do not cause any direct harm. That's also a good action in this case, because in the end, if you're not doing bad, then it's good. If you're not doing good, then it's bad. Because good wouldn't exist without bad. I hope you get what I mean. It's really hard to explain. And yeah, let's get into the actual meat of the video. So, is revenge ever justified? So, it's really hard because you can do revenge in many ways, but we need a somewhat consistent way to define what revenge is, but we're not gonna get to that yet. So first, we're gonna look at a pretty classic example. So there's a kid and there's a bully. The bully beats up the kid, so the kid's friend goes to beat up the bully as revenge, or the kid goes to beat up the bully later when they're recovered. They may not win the fight, but they still try. So doing there's objective harm, because there's physical harm. Physical harm is one of the most objective harmful things. Objective bad actions you can do is physically harming somebody or something, and this is a pretty classic example of revenge. You get beaten, so you or your friend beats that guy, or you get sexually assaulted, so you sexually assault the guy who sexually assaulted you in return later. So obviously these are beating up someone. I think that's not as extreme as sexual assault. Definitely much lighter. So we'll focus on that because it's also quite a bit easier to explain. And so I think an important moral guideline that I'm going by, kind of, it's also in the Bible. If there's any Christians watching, I'm a Christian myself. Don't follow the Bible that much though, but nonetheless, uh, I think a really good objective ideology that you should follow is that you should never do any harm to anybody. And when you get beaten up, that's obviously someone else does very bad thing. It's bad. It's their mistake. They did wrong. You did nothing wrong there. Even if you acted in self-defense, you still didn't do wrong unless you started acting like too much in self-defense. You maybe already defended yourself. You immediately you defended that you let's say they tried to punch you, so you quickly punch them before they can punch you, or you kick them or something, so that their punch doesn't land. But then you still keep going, so that's wrong, because then you start physically harming them. But the self-defense part there, I think that's fine, because you are, once again, we're going that way I defined good and bad actions. You are doing more general good with that than you're doing general bad with that. And then wait, I lost the thought. One second. And I think so. Now we get to the revenge part. So you got beaten up, and you decide you wake up the next day, you're about fine, and you want to beat them up because that would make you feel good, because you'd get that revenge, you'd get the um like the payback. They did you wrong, so you feel obligated to do them wrong in return. So is this right? Short answer, no. Because uh while it may feel good in the moment, first of all, if you are mentally fine, uh if you are mostly fine, usually when you do something like that to another person, you physically harm them, especially if the harm is actually pretty big and not just like a light slap. Let's say you give them a black eye, or you break a bone or something. You usually feel guilt, and you don't want to feel guilt. So would you take that temporary pleasure that you get from the revenge over the guilt? And you beating up someone, it has more bad results. It causes more general harm than it causes general good. All good that it causes, it gives you a good feeling. All bad it causes, first of all, it's illegal. Second of all, it physically harms another person. And third, guilt. So there's three things that are general harm, and one thing that's general good. So by definition, then it would be a bad action, which would mean that it's wrong. And now, soon this will start getting pretty complicated. But first we have to go through another thing. So, because we need to define revenge. So one thing that my girlfriend brought up is the example that how did it go? So there's a person that you hate. First of all, hate is a strong word. I don't think you should necessarily hate someone unless there's actually like good reasoning behind it. But it doesn't really matter here. Let's say there's a person you hate, and this person has done wrong to you. They maybe bullied you for your looks. So what you do is, when you go to a event or place where they are at, you try and look as good as possible. You present yourself in a sort of way that makes that person feel bad. Like, let's say I could do this, like, if I met with so in middle school I was bullied quite a bit for not looking that good. Now I'm quite confident in my looks and my style, so I was bullied for both. So if I'd go to meet those people who bullied me for both of those, I would intentionally make myself look as good as possible. I'd put my hair perfectly, put on some perfume. I would do the best outfit I can. Groom myself perfectly. Brush my teeth. Well, go shower before the deodorant. Everything perfectly, just so that when I meet that person, I would intentionally try and make them feel bad for bullying me before, for the things that now I am doing better than them. So that's the idea. But is that truly revenge? See, this is where it gets complicated, because if you do that with the intent of causing emotional harm to the person, making them feel bad, making them kind of making them feel like they made you feel indirectly without saying anything, I might classify that as a revenge. It depends on your action. If you're just there, if that's your normal thing, you normally nowadays look that good, that's not revenge. That's just, haha, there's no reason to bully me anymore. I don't think that's revenge. That's just sort of a payback. Like, that would be comparable to that would be comparable to you first owing somebody money, then you finally pay them that money, and then they ask you for money, and now they owe you. It's like it's kind of similar. It's just a thing that kind of happened. It's not intentional revenge. But if you do actions which which you do with the very intent of causing them emotional harm, for example, you saying things to them now which are similar to what they said, like, because now that you or me, if we're talking about myself, I don't want to use myself as an example too much. So if the person A, who previously looked really bad, was bullied by person B, and now person A looks way better than the bully, and they go out of the way to meet with person B just so they can look as good as possible, present themselves as sort of a new person, and say things that would make person B now feel inferior to them. That would be intentionally trying to cause emotional harm. So that's obviously bad action. And but would it be revenge? I think yes, it would be revenge if you do it with the intent of, because they did that to you. So now we can define but one more thing before we actually define revenge. So I'm gonna put this. Wait. So if you just happen to look good now, you happen to be at like an event where both person A and person B are. Person A just happens to look really good now, more good than person B objectively. We can't really say that one person looks better than another one because it's kind of a matter of personal taste. But we're gonna using now from like person B would now think that person A looks better than them, which if they bullied them, they probably wouldn't. But still, you get the point. You get the point. So if you'd unintentionally be there, look good, and you wouldn't go out of your way to present to them that you now look better, and even if you did, like as an idea of like, see, I had a glow up. I'm not the same guy I used to bully anymore. Like we presented like that, then I don't think that's revenge. I think that's just kind of like, hey, I'm finally good enough for you type of. It's more like accomplishing a goal, which is looking good, instead of accomplishing a goal which is now harming the other person for it. So I don't think that's revenge then. If you don't go out of your way to try and emotionally harm the person for it, that's not revenge then. So now we can define revenge as an intentional cause of harm towards another person as a result of a cause of harm they did to you. I think I can probably phrase that better. Harming another person intentionally because they harmed you, whether it be intentionally or accidentally, before. I think that's a pretty good definition. So now we have revenge defined. So now we get to something pretty complex. So this is pretty complex. Punishments, justice. This is about to get really complex. So I have a couple of examples. We're starting off with a pretty easy to understand one over here. Well, actually, all of these are, but I think this is the most easy to understand one here. So you let's say, imagine yourself as a 14-year-old kid, and you broke the window of your house, and now your parents took your phone away for a week as a punishment. Is that revenge? So I'd say it depends on the intent, because when we define revenge, we said that it must be an intentional cause of harm. So the intent in revenge is to cause harm. But I think in punishment, often the intent is not to cause harm, but rather to teach, to make the person understand that, hey, I did wrong and I get punished for doing wrong. So it's not revenge. I wouldn't say that it's revenge. It's a reason. There's a reason it's called punishment, not revenge. But it is it right? Is it justified? So in this example, I think no, because well, what we've established here is that just some kid just broke a window and got their phone taken away for 2 weeks. Or did I say a week? I don't even remember anymore, but it doesn't matter. We would need to understand a few things here. So there's a reason, in court they search up every possible evidence and thing that points to the thing before actually handing out the punishment. Because here, the breaking of the window might have been an accident, in which case I don't think a punishment is okay. Also, if the person is let's like, it depends on so many scales. So then, if it was an accident, I don't think a punishment is okay here. But if the person is then again older, let's say the person is 16, they're 17, 18 even, and they break a window on accident, at that age, actually breaking a window is actually pretty hard. And if you're at that age and you manage to break a window on accident, I think you must have been doing something that you shouldn't have been doing. Or you were doing something wrong. And here again, it depends on the context. If you're cleaning the windows and the window just shattered with no clear reason, no, that's not your fault. You shouldn't be punished for it. Maybe if you're nice, if you want to do a good action, you maybe want to pay for a new window, or in some way take accountability for it. But a punishment from an external source, for example, a parent, I don't think that would not be right here. But then if the kid is 10, 9, let's say the kid is 9 years old, they might break a window on accident. Old houses, pretty fragile windows. Even though they're like actually not that fragile, but for a kid, they might be play fighting. I don't know, shadow boxing, fighting stuff outside with a baseball bat, and accidentally whack the window shattered. See, here I think a small punishment. No. See, it's about parenting. I don't think in parenting you should hand out these kind of unrelated punishments, taking the phone away, no going outside. I don't think you should be handing out these kind of unrelated punishments. I think you should be teaching the kid. And actually, and you like, no, this is difficult. See, I would not, I would punish, but not like that. But then again, yeah, in this case, if the punishment is justified, it depends so much on the situation. So it depends way too much. Was it intentional? Was it an accident? Was it an accident that could have been avoided easily? Was it your own fault? Was it the fault of the person who broke the window? How old is the person? What were the events leading up to the window being broken? What were you doing when the window broke? There's so many modifiers that it depends too much. If the punishment is justified, and never a physical or mental, emotional punishment. You're not gonna go out of your way to verbally abuse or verbally, physically, sexually, whatever. You don't want to go out of your way to abuse the person. that would be wrong in any situation, because that would be direct harm. A punishment which teaches, on the other hand, taking the phone away, or well, maybe not taking it away, because it's good to have a phone on you so you can call your parents maybe, or call, well, in the USA it's 911, Europe 112, call the cops, whatever. You might always need that, so don't take the phone away. Just put some locks in, no games or something like that, because that also teaches discipline, and it teaches the kid that you do bad things, you do things wrong, that equals you don't get to do these specific things, and that can be applied. But as long as you don't abuse the person, and I think it's most of the time justified to punish, and if the intent, but if the intent of the punishment is not to teach, if the intent is to hurt, then that's revenge, and revenge in this case would not be right. I don't think revenge is ever right. So the other example of punishment, law, crime. You murder someone, you get locked up. Yes, that's a good punishment, because number one, it stops you from hurting more people. Now, actually, I think this idea, I've been actually having this idea in my head for quite a while now, and I usually just connect it to law and crime, but it could be connected to the parent-kid example as well. I think the punishment is okay if it causes more good in the long term. Especially in law, it's for if it causes more good for majority of people, and in the parent-kid thing, it would just be more general good in the long term than it causes immediate harm. Then the punishment is justified. So locking up a murderer, that's fine. That's fine, because that causes a lot of general good. Because you're locking up a person who potentially might hurt more people in the future. You lock them up, they can't hurt more people in the future. And in most countries, it's not most countries, in some countries, I already talked about this earlier, but prison, jail, it's not that bad. Like, it's a bad place, obviously, because you're disconnected from the rest of the world. A lot of people, when they come out of jail, prison, they have mental health issues because of that. But that can be treated. And most importantly, in prison, jail, you can try and rehabilitate, you can study new things, you can try to become better. In most countries, they give a lot of opportunities for that. And if you do a crime, let's say a really serious crime, mass murder, you assay multiple people, you assay children, you just stuff like that, and let's say you get put to prison for a really long time. In USA you might get death row for it. In some places you might get killed. Then again, I don't think that's right, because in the end, it wasn't, as we talked earlier, it's not the person that is bad. You don't need to do anything to the person. It was the action that is bad, and you need to do something to the action. You need to try and make this person better. And I think that everybody can become better. Obviously, some people have disorders which cause them to do stuff like that. Kleptomania, you steal. You have kleptomania, you're gonna steal. But then, well, I'm not an expert in this, but I have a strong feeling that those kind of things, don't know specifically about kleptomania, but I think most of those, they can be treated. And I think some of those you can even kind of learn around them, so you don't do the thing. So no, you shouldn't be killed. For killing is never a good punishment. Physical harm is never a good punishment. Some might even doubt the morality of prison because of the mental health issues it often gives to people. But I think if prison/jail is done right, Finland has really good system. Norway has one of the best systems. I think it actually might be good. It might be justified. Uh, yeah. Last example: collective punishment. So, for those who don't know what collective punishment means, because it's a thing you probably experience. So it's punishing multiple people for the mistakes of one. Uh, the example we're gonna use here, um, a class. So this is a really low end example. It's not that serious. So one kid misbehaves in class in school. Like I don't know, middle school. One kid misbehaves a lot, so the whole class gets extra homework. Is it justified? So often the point of collective punishment is trying to make the person learn, and collective punishment doesn't work on all people, which is just the thing you have to accept. Well, some people no punishment works, but I think collective punishment works on actually quite a specific small group of people. So the point of collective punishment is that you try to make the person understand that if they do wrong, it causes harm to others, and they're trying to kind of hang on that person's possible thought process of that they don't want to cause harm to others, so they would stop doing wrong. For example, this has been done in our floorball team. You know, one person doesn't listen to the coach, messes around when instructions are being told, so we all need to do push-ups. It never works because the people there, they don't care. You know, it's like 5 or 10 push-ups. It's not that bad anyway. The person knows that it's not that bad, and they get more pleasure from messing around, doing that random stuff, than they get harm from doing those couple of push-ups. And if it's I'm not targeting anyone in my team, by the way. If anyone is no, I'm not targeting none of y'all. This is just an example. So if the person who does the thing and collective punishment is applied from it, if that person doesn't have really strong like sense of empathy, then they won't care. And it's actually, I think, quite a small group of people who actually will give up whatever doing, especially if it's a pretty minor thing. If the punishment is a minor thing and whatever they're doing causes a lot of joy to them, or maybe even others, they're not gonna stop because they don't care that the others need to suffer through the small punishment. They know it's a small punishment, nothing serious will happen. It would be different if, you know, the collective punishment would be used in jail. Like, I think they do that in North Korea or something. They probably do that in North Korea. You know, one person commits wrong, and they threaten to throw their entire family in the jail if they do the wrong ever again. No, that's not right. Because that's a pretty extreme example, and overall, it's family. Why would you? No, that's different. See, collective punishment. Collective punishment just isn't right. It's not justified. Because whoever applies collective punishment, as we talked about earlier, punishment can be justified when the punishment causes more long-term good to the general people than it does harm. And collective punishment does do often way more harm because you punish a large group of people for the actions of one. That already outweighs it because that applies to many more than whatever that one person is doing. That already says by definition that collective punishment is then wrong. So I think that's a guideline we should go by. Collective punishment, not okay. I think it's actually pretty simple. Now, often, so we need to talk about one. So, I've taken revenge on people. Probably my most famous, quote unquote, I'm not famous, but famous between people who know me. The one time I really did take revenge, one person was an asshole towards me, and I pulled the biggest hater move on her entire family about. What I'm talking about is, yes, I'm a rapper. Don't question it. I don't do that much music. It's pretty bad. Don't go looking it up. But I made a diss track on that person where it kind of went for her entire family because the person was an asshole. It felt so good. It felt insanely good. And uh, getting revenge, punishing someone for doing wrong, especially if they did wrong to you, it feels good, obviously, because you finally get the payback. It's like someone finally paying you the money they owe. It feels great. But is it that doesn't make it right? You know, this is actually quite comparable to sexual assault. Uh, you assay someone because it feels good to you. You know, power play and the good feeling of sexual interaction. That does feel good. I'm not denying. No sane person would ever deny it. Well, except if they're maybe asexual, which is fine. You can be asexual if you want. I don't care. It feels good, but it does wrong to another person. Is it right? Absolutely not. Should it be done? Absolutely not. It's kind of the same thing with revenge. Does it feel good? Yes. Does it do objective wrong towards another person? Yes. Should it be done? No. I think, you know, and when the revenge is more so what we talked about earlier, it's not directly revenge. Then if you don't if you don't do the intentional harm, then it's not revenge, and then it may be justified. But revenge, by definition, is doing objective harm, and that cannot be justified. I think I think this works. So yeah, closing thoughts here. So I'm still a bit conflicted and unsure about some of the punishment things. The real definitions of things. You can question me on those if you want. If I get good enough counter arguments in my comment section, whatever. If you let's just say it, if you want to argue, drop a comment of what you want to argue, and if I get enough counter arguments, whether it be IRL or in comments, I'll make another video answering those counter arguments, trying to lay this out. And I would, but like in general, I think if you go by the definition of revenge, which I put out, I don't know the official definition of revenge, but I expect it to be about what I said. That's not right. Don't take revenge on people, even though it feels. You know, sometimes you want to do that. It depends on what you do. Sometimes, you know, it may not be that significant, and uh, it may feel really good. You're gonna do it. Everybody's gonna do it at some point, probably. I done it many times. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it something that you would want to chase to do, something ideal. But hey, without further ado, have a good one, people. This was a really fun video to make. See you next time.